Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get asked all the time, constantly, at least 3 or 4 times a week. Somebody will ask me, how do I get Wi-Fi in my van when I'm out on the road? Now I've waited at least 3 months to make this video because I wanted to give the system that I've got a thorough good testing before revealing what it is I'm using. After all, it was a lot of money, it was a big investment, and I wanted to make sure that I'd done the right thing by investing in what I invested in. If that makes sense. I'm sure it does, somewhere along the line. Now, up until I invested all this money in my mobile Wi-Fi system, I was simply using my mobile phone, like a lot of people do. I even made a video about how I used my phone when I was in Wales. I had a little bit of trouble getting a signal to upload a video, so I simply put my mobile phone up on the roof of my van, and hey presto, I went from 1 bar to 3 bars, and that allowed me to upload a video that weekend. And a lot of people commented on that video and said, well, what if you forget to take your phone off the roof? And I'm like, well, I'd never do that, would I? I wouldn't forget to take my phone off the roof. But guess what I did one day? Yep, I left my phone on the roof of my van and I drove off. Unbelievably and incredibly, I came to a junction, put my foot on the brake, and my phone slid off my roof. It slid down the windscreen of my van and landed quite happily on my windscreen wipers. So I was really lucky I didn't lose my phone that day. So since then I've been doing a lot of research into getting the best Wi-Fi system or mobile router for my van, and after weeks and weeks of research, reading a ton of different reviews, I settled on this Netgear Nighthawk M1. Now I know there are a lot of these routers on the market and they range from anywhere between 60 quid right up to, well, this was not too shy of £300. But the reason I chose this one is because of all the good reviews, and also it's got the ability to have an external aerial fitted to it, because inside the van you are inside a metal cage, and even my mobile phone, I noticed when I was outside the van the signal would almost double if I was in a remote area. In and around cities it's not a problem, but when you go out in the sticks, then that's when it becomes a problem. So that's why I chose this Netgear M1 router, because of the external aerials. Now this has got the ability for 5G, but I only use 4G because it works out a little bit cheaper than 5G, and 4G is more readily available than 5G at the moment. But more about that later. I'll talk about what network I use. First of all, let me show you the external aerial before it gets too dark outside. So here we are on top of my van. This is my Wi-Fi external antenna. Now you may notice I've fitted it in a rather unconventional way. Well, not unconventional, just a little bit different, because I wanted to get it as far in to the centre of my van and away from the edge as I possibly could. And this is for one reason, and that is so that when people are walking past my van, it's not all that visible. I just didn't want to advertise the fact that I've got high-tech equipment inside my van. Kind of in the hope that any would-be criminals walking past wouldn't notice it and it wouldn't cause too much of an attraction, if you like. Now to fix this to my roof, I simply glued these L brackets using tiger seal, a kind of mastic, and these brackets I got from B&Q. Just bolted those to the brackets that are glued to the roof, and it's been up there now for a good 3 months and it's still there, so it works. A little bit untidy, but it works all the same. Now you'll notice the cable is very, very thick. It's a really thick cable, and I think this came with something like 5 meters of cable already attached to it. 4 or 5 meters, but it was plenty long enough for my van that's 3 meters long inside, so it'll definitely be long enough if you've got a long wheelbase Sprinter or similar van. Right, let's get back inside the van. I'll put everything back in situ and show you what it looks like in situ. So here is my mobile Wi-Fi router, tucked up nice and neat next to my overhead locker, and it worked out really well because I built this little shelf here originally for all my charging needs, for my batteries, for my GoPro, for my metal detector, etc. So I was quite pleased that I did that, because it left this nice little space for me to put my mobile router up. Now you'll see the cables underneath there for the aerial that goes up onto the roof, and I chose to use these little tiny extensions because they're just that little bit more flexible than the thick cable that comes with the aerial, and they simply plug into the aerial cable the other side of this cupboard panel. And the other reason is they've got a nice little L bracket on them as well, so if I'd used the original cable from that aerial, you'd have these thick cables coming in and coming up, and it's a really tiny little connector on the end of there, and I just didn't want to go directly in with that thick cable from the Wi-Fi aerial, and I think it makes it look a lot neater as well. So let's just switch this on so you can see what the readings are, what it comes up on the display. So there you go, you can clearly see I have two devices connected, one being my laptop and one being my mobile phone. And this month so far I've used 5.71 gigabytes of data. Not that it really matters for me because I've got unlimited data, but if you are on a restricted data network, then it's really nice to have that display to let you know how much data you've been using. You'll also notice my sticker, and if you'd like one of these stickers, then all you need to do is buy me a coffee and I will send you one. A little plug there for my stickers. So there you are, there's my mobile router up and running. All I've got to do now is try and plug this back in, but it's very difficult to do that one-handed because it kind of rides up out of the cradle that I made. Oh no, I've done it, there you are, it's back in now. And I did make that cradle myself out of a bit of a scrap wood, because the cradle they sell for these routers is actually £15, and I think the router itself is quite expensive enough without having to spend another 15 quid just for a cradle. I really do believe they should send you that cradle with the router, considering it is almost £300. So now that it's all put back and up and running again, let's do a little speed test to compare my mobile router to landline Wi-Fi. So let's do a little speed test, shall we? Just a little experiment to see the difference between the mobile Wi-Fi and landline Wi-Fi. So let's start, as soon as I'm in the van, with the mobile Wi-Fi first. And to do this speed test, I'm simply going to use an app on my phone. I shall do a screen recording and show you what it looks like. Well, there you go, 25.3 megabits per second. Let's just say 25, shall we? And it's the upload speed that I'm mostly interested in. The download speed was 47, but downloading isn't as important for me as uploading. So now let's quickly sneak up into Bob's house and have a little look at his Wi-Fi and see what the difference is. Well, there you go, download speed was a lot quicker, but uploading speed was a lot slower at only 18.5. So it just goes to show how good this Netgear M1 router is. After all, it's the upload speed that matters most to me. I'm not so fussed about downloading stuff. I'm not a gamer or anything like that. I do watch a few YouTube videos now and again, but mostly on my mobile phone. So the downloading speed isn't important to me at all. The important thing is the uploading speed. So boy, am I glad I've got this in my van. Now I know some of you may be wondering what network I chose to go with for my mobile phone and my router. Well, in fact, I use two different networks. I use EE for my router, and my mobile phone is on free. And the reason I do that is because just in case I'm going to a remote place and I haven't got a signal on one or the other. So the chances are, if you've got a bad signal on one network, you'll have a good signal on another network, hopefully. But you definitely stand a better chance of getting a decent signal somewhere if you've got two different networks. So that's why I chose to use EE and free. And apparently EE are the best. So I would highly recommend using EE. As for cost, it costs £30 a month for the EE and £10 a month for free, and both of them give me unlimited Wi-Fi. Now I suppose the burning question would be, would I actually recommend you going out and spending £300 getting a Wi-Fi system similar to the one in my van? And the simple answer to that would be absolutely not. Especially if you're the sort of person that just wants to get in your van for the week or the weekend to get away from it all. After all, that's the whole point of getting away, isn't it? And at the end of the day, we've all got mobile phones in our pockets, and your mobile phone will give you adequate Wi-Fi to watch your favourite YouTube channel. And if you're staying on campsites, most campsites will give you Wi-Fi anyway, so you really don't need to spend this much money on just getting Wi-Fi in your van. But on the other side of the coin, if like me you rely heavily on the internet, then it is a really good investment. It does work really well. Me personally, I've not been without Wi-Fi since I installed this system, so if you are interested in buying a system like this, then for you guys I will leave a link in the description of this video to my Amazon storefront, where you will find everything that I've got in my van, so that you too can also watch my videos. Now, talking about videos, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you are new to my channel, please do consider subscribing. After all, I invest a lot of money in making these videos, and I really do appreciate your support and encouragement. Thanks for watching. Ta-ra for now.